Hi folks, Leo here. I'd like to ask you a question. How are your relationships going? Now the interesting thing is, I'm not asking that question about your personal relationships, or maybe I am, because all relationships are personal. Whether they're involving business, they're involving networking, or they're involving going out and trying to find a significant relationship or partner in your life, particularly if you're a single person. You know, the interesting thing is, I was asked the other day, what makes me an expert? And, you know, two things came to mind. Number one, I always think about my relationships to people on a whole range of different levels. That's why I'm asking you this question, because when I was asked, it made me recognise the fact that my relationships are very, very different depending on the circumstances. The other interesting thing that made me really think about the process is that I have been a professional in the area of sales and marketing and communication for over 30 years. Now, I think that makes me an expert on a whole range of areas. I've been involved in a lot of research. I've read a lot of material, starting from the old Masters and Johnson, going back into the 80s, and looking at how people relate to each other on so many different levels. And some of that, in fact most of that, actually related to what we do in work. And people sort of say, well, how can personal relationships come into the workplace? Well, I can tell you folks, from my experience, it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's in the workplace or whether you're in a social setting, every relationship you have impacts on how you deal with that circumstance. That, I believe, is the best credential I can give as to why I'm conducting this new workshop called Coffee, Sex and Something in the Middle. Now, the interesting thing out of this too is that you've got to look at all your relationships and see how they go. You see, I was happily single till I was 29. I was very, very happily married for over 20 years, and now I'm happily single again. The interesting thing is, with no regrets in all of my relationships, I have a very positive attitude to how it all works. And I can honestly tell you, I've come across a lot of people that aren't quite so positive about how their relationships have worked out. Now, I'm not saying that everything worked out perfectly. Hey, we're all human. Nothing works out perfectly. However, how we deal with it and how we move forward makes all the difference. The workshop, Coffee, Sex and Something in the Middle, covers a whole range of critical topics. And one of the first ones is, who are you and how are you dealing with your relationships? I look forward to catching up with you, and hey, look, I think I'm an expert. Many other people do too. I look forward to seeing you there, and let's enjoy this journey together. Cheers.